Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the GSE podcast, and we are here with Rachel Kimsey.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I say your name right. So tell us who you are and what do you do?
Hi, I am Rachel Kimsey. I'm an actor and voice actor. I'm never really sure why I separate those two. I do a lot of voices in your favorite video games. Sometimes I get lucky enough to do cartoons, including Wonder Woman and Justice League Action. I've been in a whole bunch of. I do a lot of CNBC that your parents might listen to. Keeping it boring and straight while blowing things up on the weekends. My dog is making a lot of noise behind me. I'm also married to a voice actor, so we're well kitted out with our X-Men 97 gear around here. Got my Justice League action over here. We're a Marvel DC household, trying not to burn it down with internal fights.
A divided household, huh?
Right.
Man. And that's actually now okay. So I have to get into this before we start our questions. But I heard a rumor, and it's if it's fine if it's too embarrassing. But I heard that your husband wore that helmet while he was voice acting as Magneto. You
Well,
probably hear that sometime.
so the thing that's wild about X-Men 97 is that he's recorded almost all of it from our home studio because of when it started and continuing through. So every once in a while he'll bring the gear into the booth. What's even better is that now all of our kids have put it on, and so all of them are just like, so this is all it takes. This is all I need to rise to the occasion. We're like, Dad's 6'5", so you got to rise a little higher. But
Wow.
we're on the way.
Oh, he's tall. Oh, that's cool. Like seeing your little kids just wearing a helmet that their father portrays. That's pretty cool. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
blast. Like when
yeah.
when I had my first daughter, I was doing Justice League Action, and so she was well dressed in a Wonder Woman gear. It's fun to give them sort of anchors to what we do, and then it's also really fun to give them an idea, an insight into the people that it takes to create the stuff that they love. Because now it's pretty easy for them to wrap their heads around the idea of, well, like, dad does Drawl and Troll Hunters. We're like, yes, and Uncle AJ does Gambit. And they're like, but Gambit is Gambit. We're like, yes, and AJ is Thunk. They're like, so when we can see that dad does Phil and Crudes, but AJ does Thunk, but he also does Gambit. We're like, yeah, we live in a weird little world, you guys. But it's really fun because it gives them an idea from the beginning that like art doesn't just appear, it doesn't materialize. It's created by people, and it's created by people that you love. And so it's been really fun to sort of bring them up with the idea that we're not just art consumers, we're art creators just as human beings, and that the people that they are surrounded by are also art creators. And we've had a couple of friends publish books this year, and for them to be like, wait, people we know wrote them down, and that's what I get to read. I was like, yeah, books don't materialize. Artists create them. Their imagination and their practice and their effort brings this to you. It doesn't just show up in the world. And that for me is really exciting. And it also kind of reignites my own fire to create, where it's like, oh yeah, it's not an accident. It's decades of practice and repetition and getting in there. Like all of that is part of what makes us connected, because art is what ties us together as people. And so that repetition and that creation is why we are a society. And I think that's pretty amazing.
Oh, that
And
is
there's
pretty
my
amazing.
soapbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk also more of like your early acting career. So what got you started in acting? Was it I know some people get started in theater.
Mhm.
So did you get started in theater, or I'm very curious.
Yeah, for sure. The bug bit me really young and really early. I still remember some of the dialogue from the first play I did in fifth grade.
Wow.
Um, and it was such a transformative experience. I knew I wanted to do plays. That happened to be the first one that I did. And doing a play in fifth grade made me just go, see, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. Um, and I still didn't have a lot of opportunities throughout my childhood. So every time I did, I kind of dove onto it with, all 4 feet. But I studied it in college, and my plan was to go do Shakespeare for the rest of my
Oh,
life. I wanted to do live Shakespeare and then like maybe do some radio commercials to keep myself paid. And then I made my first movie and I was like, oh, making movies is really fun. And then I moved to New York and did whatever work I could. And when I got to Los Angeles, I got onto a soap opera and I was like, oh, wait a minute. I can be on TV every day. This is pretty amazing. And it was like at each turn, it's like it opened up a new window on the different ways that an acting career could look. Because I think, I was a kid who grew up on PBS and the library. Like I wasn't even allowed to watch much film or television, but I knew I loved it. And so every time I kind of explored a new corner, I was like, oh, it doesn't all look like being a movie star. There are all of these different windows. And that's kind of how my voice acting career started too. I have always been an avid reader, and I went to a manager I had at the time and I was like, I really want to record books on tape because I really like reading books out loud. And he's like, I don't do that, but I know some people who do. And he introduced me to my first voiceover agent, who immediately said, we don't do audiobooks because there's not enough money in it, but why don't you try some commercials? And so I stumbled backwards into my voiceover career too. And by the way, it was like 12 years until I did my first audiobook after that.
oh
like
wow.
like that was what brought me into the interest, and that's not what actually happened. um and so each time it was just, I know that I want to be an actor, and learning all of the different ways that that could look and letting that expand my palette of what was possible. And it kept taking me new places, and now I feel so lucky that this is the direction I found, because I get to act every day. I get to live a little bit outside of town. I get to have chickens in my backyard. I get a wide variety of characters that I can play because it's no longer based on how I look or how tall I am. And for me, there's so much creative freedom in that. And it's very different than when I thought I was going to be doing Shakespeare for the rest of my life. And then never got to be in a Shakespeare company. Like you never know what direction your dream is going to take you. If the dream is big enough, you fill it in with what's there and you let that fuel you instead of feeling like a failure because it isn't this tiny narrow thing that was the small piece that you imagined, at least for me.
It's kind of crazy how everything's just sort of just fall in place as it went along. I also got an. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say yes, but also that requires allowing, right? Like
Yes.
there's that thing that
Yes.
we can do so often of being like, if it's not exactly what I wanted it to be, it's not good enough. So much of it was allowing this to count, allowing this to keep me in the game, right? And so like it kept changing and shifting, and I could have looked at that as being a failure because I never got to be, Juliet at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, which was what I thought I wanted to do. And I never got to do that. But I don't feel like a failure because I have a 30-year acting career. I didn't know how broad the dream could be at the time. And so, to anybody who wants to do something creative, keep your eyes on the horizon. Like, know what you love, but allow new things to come in, because if you don't allow the dream to change, then you're not growing into it. And there's a lot bigger world out there over time than going in, just inherently, because life is bigger and broader than we realize.
It's kind of crazy because you kind of answer my daughter's question.
I love
So,
it.
my daughter, yeah, because I'll give my daughter an opportunity to ask the question, which is always the same question, like, hey, what's the inspiration, or if I wanted to pursue acting, like, what is the best advice? Which that was the same questions of all the other guests that she gives me.
I
So,
love it.
whenever I was telling her, I was like, yeah, but I will say this, yours was a little different than what she asked, which is rare.
Hmm.
So, because I told her, I was like, yeah, she, because I was telling her that you played Wonder Woman on TV on Justice League Action, and she's like, really? I was like, yeah, and she's like, like, I really want to know, like, what's that like? I was like, what do you mean? What's that like? I was like, well, like, she's thinking on the top of her head, like a woman superhero. She's like, I think it's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And, I think in a way, like the way she's trying to say it in her 9-year-old mind is that's very inspirational, playing as a well-known superhero, the Trinity of DC at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
for me, it was the dream. It was the
mhm.
dream role. I mean, I have there are pictures of me in my Wonder Woman underoos in the 80s because when I was a kid, Wonder Woman was the only female superhero. Was the only one. Like I remember when Rogue showed up on the scene and I was like, there's two? And and for me, like I always I want to start crying every time I think about it because she was there are pictures of me in like Halloween costumes as Wonder Woman growing up. Like Wonder Woman was one of my all-time anchor characters and it was so big that I almost didn't do the audition because I
Wow.
didn't feel good enough. Because I was like how can I possibly do it right? And the process that I went through internally to just get out of my own way and say whatever I send is okay because I care about it because it's important to me and that's good enough. And if I never get the job, it's still okay and it's still good enough. Like that process internally was so profoundly shifting. I genuinely believe it changed my entire career. The fact that they happened to choose me because I know that they got amazing auditions from incredible actors. I know who I worked with. I know the caliber of the people that they saw. The chemistry of a project is it's a group effort, right? It's never about any one person. And so I got lucky that my piece fit with all of the other pieces that were there. But the gift that gave me in being able to live into one of my personal most iconic characters, who also happens to be an an iconic character for women all over the world and men all over the world. Like to me, it was genuinely life-changing. And I will never ever take it for granted. I remember going to record the pilot and I remember thinking I was like they might fire me. This might be it. The pilot might not go. They might replace me with somebody else. But today I am Wonder Woman. And no one can ever take that away from me because today I am Wonder Woman. And even if it changes tomorrow, there have been Wonder Womans before me, there will be after, but today I am on that list. And the fact that they didn't fire me and they didn't replace me and I did get to stay was just continued to be a gift. And I feel so lucky to be on that list. Like some of the most talented and incredible women in our industry currently have played that role recently. Like any list that puts me puts me in a list with Linda Carter, I'm like, please stop. like that. So the answer to her question is profoundly. It changed me profoundly, and it meant everything in the world to me, and it still does. And it's still it will for the rest of my life be one of the best things that I ever got to do and one of the best things that ever happened to me. And it will always feel like a gift.
Yeah, I can't
Because I love the
imagine.
show. And so that worked out great.
What?
We're so proud of it. And I really loved the show and I was so happy that it all came together. But it's, you never know. The process really was the greatest joy. And then to actually love the product is just like the cherry on top.
Yeah, I just can't imagine like when you first like went in the studio and playing as Wonder Woman. I can't imagine the pressure of that.
It was
Really,
a
I
little
can't.
terrifying.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like it.
But okay, so I've told this story before, but partly because it meant so much. Like when I was doing the audition, I remember
hmm
having this moment, right, where I was like, what does Wonder Woman sound like? Like it's just audio. Like, what does Wonder Woman sound like? And I had ideas for other characters and like, what Batman sounds like. It turns out Batman sounds like Kevin Conroy. Everybody since Kevin Conroy, including Christian Bale, just does a Kevin Conroy impression, right? but I didn't have an idea of what she sounded like. And then I remember having this moment, and this is what I mean, the internal change. Like, it settled in, and I was like, I guess she sounds like me when I feel like Wonder Woman. And that was what
Mm.
it came to. I was like, it's not going to be about a voice. It's not going to be about some like choice. It's going to be, she sounds like I do when I feel like Wonder Woman. And I remember on that day, like, taking time, that became this like very quiet mantra for myself. And like taking time before we started, where I was like, she sounds like me when I feel like Wonder Woman. So I need to fill those boots today. I gotta feel it, and I gotta stand in those boots, and I gotta live in that space. And so that fueled everything that came next. And then it turned out the team was just the most lovely and generous people, and the actors were incredible over the entire, 52 episodes. And so all of it, grew together after that. But it was terrifying walking into that room and knowing that the only choice I had was to own it. So there was no space for fear. You just had to step into courage. And it worked. Fortunately.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he was in all 52 episodes of Wonder Woman, so
Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
yeah. So, and I know it's different from different studios. I know it's a little different, but did you happen to work with your cast members on Justice League Action? Because
We
I know
got
some studios don't schedule people like to go in by themselves.
we got really, really lucky, because at the time, it didn't happen very much anymore, and now it happens almost never. But we
Mhm.
did get to group record for
Wow.
almost all of it. And not everybody was available every single time, but like, I got to be in the room with some of my heroes, and the learning experience of being in the room and seeing them work. I'm jealous of myself for all the other people who don't get to have it. Like, it was such an incredible experience, literally physically watching some of these incredible icons do what they do so well. And then also like feeling what it felt like to be with them. Like, I learned so much over that process, of being there. And then a few times I would just like hang out when we were done, and I would sit in and I would listen while they were recording somebody remotely. And so I got to learn from that as well. And that's incredibly rare now. Working on like X-Men 97, they've done 99% of it remotely. And it's still wonderful because, you're acting with other actors over Zoom and stuff, but everybody kind of feels like we're missing a tiny bit of that magic, and everybody would like to have it again. It's harder to get it to happen. But what can I tell you about what it was like to have Sean Astin walk in the room and tell the director, I'll let you know when I've given you the best take, but in the most lovely and sweet way. Like, they'd be like, that was great. He's like, no, 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 I've got better. And then he did give better. And I was like, oh, that's what a lifetime career looks like, where you come in, you deliver something incredible, and then you go, I've got more. Hold on, trust me. And then everyone goes, oh, we have been rewarded by trusting you. Like, it was just the coolest experience. Like, some just superlative actors, like watching John DiMaggio do a battle cat off the cuff, where they're like, hey, can you do this cat? And he's like, well, sure. And then these sounds came out of his body. And I was like, how do you do it? And like dreaming of having that kind of skill, and just watching it happen on the fly. Those kind of things they're so special. And it's a bummer that we don't get to do it that way as often anymore. But anytime you get a chance, I recommend it.
Yeah, I could kind of see how that sort of changes the energy in the room. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're by yourself versus being in a group.
Hmm. Some of our records, and too, like, some of it was the energy of the people who knew each other so well. Like, um a day where I'm on a microphone between Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, who are both some of the most extraordinary voice actors of this generation, but also who have decades of history together, not only as humans, but also as characters. Like, just sitting in between that, it's like getting hit with electricity between your ears just as it shoots back and forth. And I'm like, I get to be here. Like, this is an experience I would pay for, you know? That there's something so special in that. We did an episode that was really fun where all of the Red Lanterns were cast members from Star Trek, and none of them knew that they
I
were
didn't
going to
know
be there.
that.
So like Michael Dorn was there, and oh no, the most Armin Shimmerman was there, and my brain is blanking. This is the worst. But like, it was so fun because they ran into each other in the lobby and we're like, wait, I was going to have lunch with you, but I had to cancel because of a thing. And the thing I had to cancel for was this. And so they brought their decades of affection for each other into the room to totally different characters. And us getting to sit in that space with them, people who had such an artistic connection and an affection for each other. And then that gets bled into the characters, like these Red Lanterns who are on a team together, right? And so we have this incredible chemistry that gets to happen because the relationships that people have in their lives come into the room as well. And that's one of the reasons that any new actor that's starting out, I'm like, the biggest key is stick around. You just got to stay. There are going to be months and sometimes years where things are slow, but the people and the relationships that you connect with, those are going to be the things that keep you alive, keep your career alive, keep your heart alive for the rest of it. Because you're going to walk into a room and you're going to see somebody that you did a play with 20 years ago, and it's going to fill your soul with light, and that's going to change your performance, and that performance is going to have this kinetic energy that you couldn't have gotten some other way. You know, just sticking around, because the people that you create with are the people that will build you up and talk about you in the rooms that you're not in and light you on fire when you're in the rooms with them to make you do your best work. And it's all worth it. It's all worth it.
What was it like working with Kevin Conroy? Rest in peace, by the way. I grew up watching the Batman animated series. Like, when I think of Batman, I always think of Kevin Conroy. So what was it like working with Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill?
They were extraordinary. But first of all, I want to say this. People say don't meet your heroes, but if you ever get a chance to meet Mark Hamill, you won't be let down because he is wonderful. And that's exactly how I felt about Kevin too. We lost a really special person when we lost
Oh, we
him.
did.
And he was an extraordinary man and just an exceptional talent. And watching him, the coolest thing about working with Kevin was the just, as a human, he was like this ball of joy that just brought light. Like, every room he was in, it was like light was filling that corner. Like, he brought so much joy, and he brought so much love into every space with him. And then the moment that you start, the focus and the intensity and the specificity of Batman, it almost gave you chills, because it was such a great reminder that you don't have to live in darkness to play darkness. You can be in your light, and that light can fuel creativity, and the creativity can build that place. And that he brought so much of his own truth from his own story. If you haven't seen the comic that he wrote about creating Batman, I couldn't recommend it more highly. It's gorgeous, and it's heartbreaking. It's the clarity of somebody who moves through the world with such joy and such gratitude, then hones in with that kind of depth and passion and focus on this iconic character that he's created such a groove for, that everyone else is kind of just bouncing off of it. And Mark is joyful, and like, he's got good dad energy. I gotta be like, he's got good dad, like, there was a day, it was mortifying. There was a day we looked down, and like three of us were all wearing like Star Wars stuff. somebody was wearing like, two people were wearing like shoes, and I think I was wearing a shirt, and like nobody had thought about it. And he was just like, nice. And like he would talk about like his favorite like 1940s and 50s horror movies. Like that was the genre that lit him up and like just set off his creativity, right? And so we were learning about all of this cool stuff that he loved. There was a day we were recording where I was off mic and I just sat back and I was watching, and I still remember he was sitting on a stool and he was recording and he was doing this incredible take. And I remember consciously having the thought, I was like, God, I wish I could get my phone out and record this. I wish people could see the intensity and the creativity that he brings to it, but I would never violate his privacy like that. Like all of these words are passing through my head. So like I didn't get my phone out. And right at that moment, he sits back and the take ends. He sits back and he's like, oh, thank God nobody can see me. I look like a crazy person. And I was like, and that's the magic, right? I'm sitting there going, this is the most spectacular thing I've ever seen. And he sits back and is like, thank God nobody's watching. And it's one of the coolest things about what we do is in voiceover specifically is if you can allow that self-consciousness to just go away, if you can, and it's hard for a lot of us, but if you can allow that need to be cool to just vanish, there's so much space to create just the coolest stuff. And the amount that I learned from both of them and the joy that they both just radiated in what they did. And also Mark tells great stories. Just if you ever get a chance, just sit quietly and let him tell you stories because they're the best. He's an amazing storyteller. No surprise. But yeah, I couldn't have been happier to discover two people that I admired so much still had such a deep love and affection for each other and were as good an actor and as good a humans as I could possibly have hoped. I just, ooh, what a relief that was.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. So now I would like to, speaking of creativity, actually, how much creative freedom did you have as Wonder Woman when you were doing the voice for it?
It turns out more than I knew.
Okay.
The thing that was fun about Justice League Action was they were specifically trying to have a little bit of not a lighter take, but we were deliberately putting more comedy in than some of the previous versions of JLA that were aimed to a slightly older audience. And we were trying to be more sophisticated than like the Teen Titans Go show that everybody loved was specifically geared to a slightly younger audience. We were kind of trying to thread the needle in between, right? And we were I wasn't writing it, extraordinary writers were writing it, but they were given permission to put more comedy in it. And as a result, I was given permission to put more comedy in it. The thing that was really hard was they kept being like, well, we started like at first they were writing it. And then over time, they kept telling me, they're like, well, we're writing it more and more in your voice. And I was like, what does that mean? I don't know. Because I was enjoying doing it so much, I didn't know what I was doing that was different. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I kind of know.
It turns out in that really wonderful way, I was impacting the writers and the writers were impacting me, but in a dance that they understood better than I did. Cause I was like, I'm just saying your words in the way that they sing in my head. And they're like, yeah, but it's singing a different note than we've been able to do before. But it was such a clear dance. It was such a good energy between us that I wasn't really aware of what they were doing differently because it made so much sense to us at the time. So it turned out I did get to kind of have a little fingerprint on the character, which was really fun for me. We definitely were allowing Wonder Woman to have a little more lightness and be a little more loose. In some previous versions, for good reasons, she was a goddess, is a goddess. Like she was, and so they wanted her to be a little bit more regal and contained. And so it was really nice to get to be a little bit more relaxed and a little more free. But for me, so much of that was in the incredible writing. And so many of those writers have gone on now to be like iconic comic book writers and writing whole other series. And like, it is no surprise to me that like so many of our key writers have gone on to continue creating incredible stuff. I was like, yeah, because they're friggin' geniuses and delightful humans. And I just got lucky enough that they liked what I did, and so they kept writing for me.
Another question I have is doing voice acting for video games different than the voice acting you did for animation?
Oh yeah. The biggest difference between video games and animation is video games are almost always, there are exceptions, but they are almost always cold reads.
Yeah.
So most of the time, you'll come in and you've never seen the script, and there's no preparation outside of the material you got for your audition. And most of the time, the lines are isolated, so you don't have dialogue back and forth. There are exceptions, of course, for like cutscenes and things like that. But even in a character that you've been playing for years, usually you still only get your own dialogue. Sometimes they'll tell you what's happening in the scene. And so there's a lot heavier reliance on directors in interactive media, because the directors are the superheroes who keep it all in their head. Like they've got the whole story arc, they've got the scenes, they know what's going on. They give you the download on the moment before and what's happening so that you can come in and do it. And the result too is that in an interactive session, for video games we'll call interactive, you'll do hundreds and hundreds of lines sometimes. And in an animation session, it'll be a lot fewer. And like when we were doing group records, it was even a little bit fewer than that because we were all doing it together. And so we would always get, you know, a full episode done in a session, but it was very different from coming in on my own to do 500 lines of Rachel Kane, you know, talking on comms in Call of Duty, where I'm giving you instructions, or like I've done a ton of DLCs for games where I'm the one who's like, on your left, over your shoulder, in the yellow barrels, you know, and that's just independent dialogue. And so it's a very different input to get a still very interactive output. The difference is in animation, your output is with other actors, and in gaming, your output is oftentimes with the player at home. So it's trying to have a different impact on your audience. But it means the sessions feel really different. But it's a cool, different kind of challenge. I really like both, but it is a different setup, and you really got to get warm for those video game sessions. You're just gonna go for hours.
And I also got to say this about this. So I know how like some people, whenever they do projects, they tend not to watch or interact like with their old like films, movies, TVs, whatever. Did you ever like watch your own product?
I mean, it depends a lot. I am very uncoordinated in the thumbs, so it's very hard for me to play my own video games. I'm terrible. I like physically, I'm so bad at playing video games. So a lot of times when I've watched stuff I've done in game, I end up watching other people on YouTube, and I'm like, thank you, people who play and send it to YouTube so I can see it. But I will say JLA, I love. I love it as an audience member. Last Christmas, my husband gave me like the sweetest gift, and he found it all on DVD. We didn't have it on DVD before because we're like, well, it's out here on all these streaming things. And I was like, I want to own it just in case, right? Like I want a hard copy. And so he went out and he found a hard copy original DVDs of both seasons of it. And now I have those. And it was so meaningful to me because like I said, that's going to be, no matter what else I do, it was, first of all, it was my first big role, but also it was like the childhood dream role. And so being able to have that was special, but also as a fan, I love the show. I love the episodes I'm not in. I think The writing is incredible. It's the shorts that we did. We did all these 2-minute shorts for like WB Kids, and most of those ideas came out of us like bantering while we were recording. We were like, "What if this? What if this?" And then the writers would take those ideas and run with it. And so seeing those come together, like Batman and Superman being good cop, bad cop, is hysterical. Like, that's just such a funny idea. So I've absolutely watched that short and I'm not in it. Like, it's delightful. Like, to this day, on my Christmas playlist of like things that we watch at Christmas, I love our Christmas episode because Solomon Grundy has always been one of my very favorite characters. And Fred Tatasciore as Solomon Grundy is so sweet. And the idea of Green Lantern throwing a Christmas party because he just wants Batman to be his friend. Please, please, please. I'm sorry, Green Arrow, not Green Lantern, throwing a Christmas party because he just desperately wants Batman to be his friend. And then getting interrupted by Solomon Grundy. I was like, that's just fun. Like, that's just a great story. I just happened to be lucky enough to get to throw a couple lines into it. So I'm really grateful that I'm so proud of a lot of the stuff that we've done. And now because I have little kids myself, it's kind of fun to be like, oh, well, we just have this excuse to watch this thing, which is really
And I know off camera we're talking a bit about our kids, but have your kids ever like watch Justice League and go, "That's mommy"?
Because we were given so many Wonder Woman accoutrements when my oldest was a baby, and I made a specific choice. I bought extra action figures. I was like, I have mine that are for me that are in boxes put away safe. But I made sure to buy sets of the action figures. I was like, toys are to be played with. And so my kids have had my JLA Wonder Woman toys. Now they've got some Magneto toys and some, Drawl toys and stuff like that. That we let them, that are like in their rotation to play with. So they know, they're like, this is mom, which is really cool because that means that they knew that before we ever watched it. But it's really fun to see them watch it and then check in with me because by chance they'd seen some of their dad's stuff first, because it was just a little bit more geared toward younger kids. And so now they're like, wait, you do this too? Like, this is also you? Well, when's dad gonna show up? I was like, I hadn't met dad yet. You gotta wait. Well, we do other stuff together, don't worry. But it is really fun to kind of see the light go on where they're like, wait, this is actually something that you do. It's not just this doll that we have. But I will say on the bucket list of things, having an action figure it's way up there. It's so good.
Yeah,
It's incredibly validating. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty exciting.
I bet having an action figure of a character you play, hey, look, I can't beat that res. I can't beat that res. So I'm noticing a lot more stuff in your background, which, by the way, again, I know we were talking about that. My background's kind of boring. I got some of my wife's plants behind me.
Nice.
But
you love plants.
I noticed like you have like a lot of like, well, obviously you're DC, your husband's more Marvel, but do you read comics? Do you get into stuff like that? I'm curious.
So this is my comic book shelf. It's in the office because the kids can't touch it.
Yeah.
No, but I am gonna fess up though. My weird thing is I have a really hard time reading individual comics issues. So for my whole growing up, I was kind of graphic novels only. Like I have like full body sense memories of reading The Dark Knight Returns. I was like, this is what it could be. So I was very excited when they started doing trade paperbacks, and I was like, well, trade paperbacks are okay. Like, it's issues of comic books they're just too small. I need more. I'm like, so these are almost all graphic novels. There's a good chunk of trade paperbacks in there now too. But yeah, that was actually one of the great things when my husband was auditioning for X-Men. I was like, let me take you out to the shelf and read this one and this one and this one, and let's start here. And so that's been really fun. That's been a blast.
All right, so I know this is like a random question, but I actually heard this in an interview with you.
Okay.
Um, okay, you said in this interview that you worked at a amusement park in Taiwan.
I did.
I was like, well, that's like a good conversation starter. Like, where did you? How did you end up in Taiwan? I'm very curious.
So this is what I'm saying about like just follow your dream and let it be open, right? When I was in
Yeah.
college and wanted to do theater for the rest of my life, I didn't want to take a PE class, and I was very excited that stage combat counted for my PE credit. And I got into it. I was sword and shield, and I'm pretty great with a quarterstaff. Lots of hand to hand combat, all this, all stage choreography, right? So I
Right.
had gone through every level of stage combat classes at school, and I was staying in and I was participating in it. And then our director or our teacher and a person that he was working with at the SAFD, the Society of American Fight Directors, they got a contract at a theme park in Taiwan called Liufu Village to do the live stunt shows. If anybody's ever been to like Knott's Berry Farm, there's like a Wild West town there where they do like a live Wild West show. This was similar to that, right? So there was a Western town at this theme park, and we did this cowboy show. And because I'd been training in fight choreography, they were like, "Well, do you want to come to Taiwan and do it with us?" I was like, "Yeah." And the theme of my entire career in stunts was I have never been hired to do a job I already knew how to do. I got hired to fall off of buildings and get and swing from ropes and light my friends on fire, and I had never done any of that. I was like, there's no swords, there's no quarterstaffs, there's no shields in this. But I was like, do I want to move to another country and learn another language and jump off of buildings every day? Yes, I do. And so I went to Liufu Village and I played a Wild West lady in velvet, and I fell off of a building every day and swung from a rope, and I was the only member of our cast that didn't go to the hospital for 6 months. I was very proud of myself. I can still say "Jinsan Jinsan wo de Jinkua." I can look for the gold. I don't know a lot of other Chinese, although last night putting my kid to bed when she was saying, "How you feeling?" I was like, "Mama hoo hoo." Some things you keep. Bean shui still comes to me more readily than whatever ice water is in Spanish. I still can't remember. Um, but it was amazing. Like it was a really transformative experience. I did that and delayed my last semester of college so I could do it. And then I came back and finished during the summer and moved to New York. And every time that I got hired to do stunts from there on out, it was always something that I'd never done. When I worked on stunts on Spider-Man 2, they were like, so we need to do this rope stunt where we pull you out of a window. I was like, great. Have you done that before? No. Will you? Yes. Okay. Like, what do you got? Let's do it.
Never done it, but you got so excited.
Like, I don't know. Or what do you? I did Heroes, and they were like, we need to hit you in the head with ceramics, and I was like, okay. Are you going to be fine? Yes. Have you done this
it's
before? No.
it's
Great.
funny you said that because that was like the first iteration of your work that I've seen you in. It was actually in Heroes.
Oh yeah.
That was my favorite TV show growing up.
It was so good.
Oh, I know.
I was such a fan of that show, and look at the incredible writers that were on that. Went on to be the head writer for Marvel. Hi. Um, I I loved that show so much, and like my fun factoid is that the episode that I was on, Zach booked Star Trek, or at least they publicized it the weekend that we were shooting. Like we were shooting from like Wednesday to Wednesday, and over the weekend the news came out that he was going to be Spock. And we all came back and we were like, your world is about to change. This is pretty amazing. He is also lovely and delightful. Yeah, I was such a fan of that show. I loved the first season of that show. For me, stands as one of the great seasons of television ever. Like it was so great. And it was very weird to work on a show because I was working on it during the writer's strike. Like the writer's strike was actively on right then. And so we were allowed to record, but we were not allowed to change a single word. There was no improvisation allowed at all. You had to only say exactly what was written. which is a little stressful. But it was awesome. It was so fun. I got to have my first superpowers. It was so cool.
And the film, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, actually, that actually got me into Star Trek.
Oh,
Because
that
I was
makes sense.
never, because I was never into Star Trek. I was like, I like Star Wars a little bit more. But whenever that came out, and then when I saw him as Spock, I'm like, the serial killer guy from Heroes,
Right?
what?
Great. He's so
And,
great. He's so
yeah,
talented.
and he was the reason why I actually gave it a chance. I
I
will
get
say that.
that.
He was the reason why. I'm like, man, he's in Star Trek. I'm gonna give it a try. Oh wow, I actually really enjoyed it.
Growing up, my family was always like, there are Star Wars families and Star Trek families, and we are a Star Wars family. And we were a Star Wars family, except that the Next Generation was on TV, and the Next Generation was so good that we would like sneak the Next Generation, like we were trying to watch Dallas after bedtime. We're like, yeah, but this is also like really good though. And I got to meet LeVar Burton one time, and I nearly cried. And I was like, and so, but Reading Rainbow. He was like,
See, I'm missing out because I just started watching it like maybe a couple months ago. I am so missing out. Like I'm doing like the other shows like Enterprise and all that, but
the Next
I
Generation is
just haven't gotten into.
it's the
That's
cast is insane. Like the people that they got to do that show, and then who either had come from illustrious careers or went on to do stuff where you're like, well, obviously, like the cast is ridiculous. It's great.
even Patrick Stewart because he was known for theater at the time, and then whenever he was cast as Picard, and I mean you can see his theater stuff coming out, but that's what really brought it out the show.
Yes, he's
Yeah.
amazing in that show, and the way that he talks about like relaxing into it over time. That at first there was a little bit of like, I'm a National Theater Company actor, like what am I doing here? But then like relaxing and finding it, I was like, ugh. But it couldn't have been as great without somebody that grounded. Like that's the interesting thing about the chemistry of think of any of your favorite shows. It's about the chemistry of the group. Even if one person stands out as extraordinary, it's still because of how they interact together and how they play off of each other. Like if you tried to describe Whoopi Goldberg, who at the time was doing like the biggest comedies of the 80s, coming in to play this incredibly serene character, it wouldn't make any sense. But if you know her now only from being like an adult woman who's like, I have things to say, you're like, well, obviously. But then you go 10 years before that where she's, doing Jumpin' Jack Flash, and you're like, wait, but Sister Act is also like the chemistry of how these people interacted and what they brought out in each other. If you look at any of your favorite stuff, it's so imperative to look not at a star, but at what they bring out in the people around them and what the people around them highlight in each other. And I mean, like it's the dumb cliche, right? There's no small parts, only small actors, except what I have seen over and over and over again is it's not even about any individual actor. It's about everybody coming together with a shared vision of what they're doing. Like I cannot think back on my JLA experience without also thinking about Tim Sheridan and Jeremy Adams and Jim Krieg. Like those writers are as important to the chemistry of the day as Diedrich Bader, who is one of my favorite people on earth, or Tara Strong, who is an absolute hero, right? Like all of the people who came in are still only as exciting as they are in a team. And you think back to like those great ensembles, right? Like the Star Trek ensembles or Star Wars, that family growing up, and you see those actors growing up together over the course of it, and you realize like all of that happens because of what they mean to each other. And I truly believe that art is the thing that makes humans human. And I really think that the way that we connect to each other through these stories is the reason that society bothers to exist. And I think it is as meaningful as that and as light as that. And that's why there's no bad art, and that's why there's no bad art communities. Like the thing that gives you something to tie yourself to other people, that gives you a reason to care about each other, that helps you feel seen and see people, is valuable. And every single part of that team is important. Like the people that I knew, Emi Onomura and Jake Castrania from like the directing department on Justice League Action, when they moved to X-Men 97, it made me go, people I love are making something I love. And then my husband got to be on it, and I was like, people I love are making something I love. And then I watched the show and I was like, this is a story that nobody believed could be told in this way. And I see the way people react to it. And that loop, right? That's like a 15-year loop of people that I knew moving to something new, creating something new with people who are new. And like that, it's all this stuff that creates our humanity together, and that it ties back to the things that helped us identify who we were as kids and growing up. And I genuinely believe there's almost nothing more important than that. Like the art we find ourselves in and the art that we create the communities that we have together. And I really think it matters. And I think it's where we find our voice and where we will transcend any moment that we're in. And it's what lives in history. That's what survives us. That
100%. 100%. Look, and you're absolutely right about the connection community with people, because when going back to the Next Generation, obviously the animations, the graphics, they're all dated. I'm just going to be flat out. It's all dated, but you get to see the connection with everybody on set, and it just makes acting just much more spectacular.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, to me, an effect on stage in the theater isn't less effective because it doesn't look as good as a CGI effect. Like it's knowing the genre and knowing the stage. Like for years at Thanksgiving, my favorite uncle, we would watch Clash of the Titans together, which has this amazingly terrible sequence of like skeletons coming up out of the dirt, and it looks so herky jerky, even when I was a kid, when it was like 10 or 15 years old, and now like 40 years later, like it looks absurd. And still, if you take a second and you watch it through novel eyes, it's so exciting, right? Like it doesn't look as good as something that would be made now, but you see everybody in there choosing to believe together in that scene with that amazing hair. You have no idea what I'm talking about. It's fine. It's old and it's wonderful. It's terrible and it's wonderful. But I really think like that moment of the suspension of disbelief, right? Like I was a girl in the 80s. Geordie's eye visor is a banana clip, spray painted gold. I could not believe that for however many years the Next Generation was on, they never updated that prop. I was like, somebody bought that at Walgreens and spray painted it gold and said, good enough. And you know what? The show is awesome. And LeVar Burton is awesome. And there was something that made me, as like a 7, 10, 11-year-old girl, be like, I know. Because I know what that is. And it changes a tiny bit of that movie magic, right? Because I can see how it's made. Like sometimes you don't want to know how the magician does its trick, but sometimes you're like, I know the sleight of hand was, the coin was between his fingers, but I still couldn't see it, right? Like sometimes the magic is in not knowing, and sometimes the magic is in seeing just a little bit of it, so you feel like you're on the inside and you're making it together. And that suspension of disbelief is, I mean, that's the magic of creation. That's when you're reading books at bedtime with your kids, when you're sitting in a dark theater and you can't see anything but the screen and you're totally immersed, when you put on the headphones and you're listening to music while you walk through the city and you feel like it's a soundtrack of your own opening montage, right? Like all of those moments, that's the suspension of disbelief that makes life worthwhile. and makes us all feel like we're having this experience together.
Yeah, because I don't know how familiar you are with like the Evil Dead with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell.
Oh, sure.
Um, I was watching an interview with I think it was with Bruce Campbell, and there was this necklace item piece that became like a whole lore like later on in life. And they were given the stories like, how did you find this piece? They're like, well, we were just driving to to film, and we just happened to come across a yard sale and just bought it at the yard sale. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's stuff like that. I don't know. It's stuff
Yeah.
like that that I like. It's the little things.
It's that reminder that people made it, you know?
Yeah.
It didn't appear. It didn't materialize. Like, people made it. Craftspeople, creative people. Like, I was doing this tiny little project with the Muppets, which again, like, dream, dream. I got to do one day of working with the Muppets and my life is complete. But like during the lunch break, one of the there's a lot of people that go into working with the Muppets. There's the Muppeteers, and then they also kind of have handlers, because the Muppets can't ever be seen when they're not alive. But one of the handlers we were shooting on the Venice Beach boardwalk, and she's like, I'm gonna go up and down to the artist here and see if there are any more props that I can get for Rizzo, because I feel like I saw a booth where there was some cool miniatures that might be great for Rizzo. Like, she was in the middle of production, but was like, I think I might be able to use some art that another artist created with something completely different in mind to bring this entire other universe to life. Like, what an incredible loop that is, right? And like, I grew up with the Muppets and with Sesame Street. So the idea that I actually got to, like, I had a conversation with Rolf, the dog, and I was a kid who had to take piano lessons. So Rolf, the dog, was like seminal to me. And there was a moment where I was talking to the Muppeteer, and then Rolf chimed in. And then over time, Rolf kept talking to me. And I swear to you, the Muppeteer vanished. Like, it was like a curtain dropped over his body, and I could see his mouth moving, and I could see him looking at me, but it was like he wasn't there at all. And it was just me and Rolf the dog talking. That kind of creativity that was created from foam and fur and wires, and it didn't materialize, but it came to life because somebody showed up and decided that this fur mattered, you know? And it was such an incredibly transformative experience to sit there and watch this fur. It was alive. I don't know how to explain the experience of watching a human being vanish and a puppet talk to you, and the puppet being the only living thing there, but it was incredible. And like, that all of this is just people investing their time, their energy, their love into objects that are created by humans, because all of this stuff is man-made. Even CGI, people made it. And that is why AR is the worst. AI is the worst. The best day to never use AI again is today. Please never use ChatGPT. Please never use any large language learning models. Please don't shortchange yourself by missing out on the artistic process, by outsourcing it to a computer that hates you and is trying to poison your water. The work of drafting, of creating it, of figuring it out, of doing the annoying stuff, that's why it matters to us. I hate AI so much. I didn't know that's where this was going, but that's where it went. Because it's man-made, and it matters that it's man-made. It matters that the tactile stuff was touched by a human hand. Even the special effects, right? Even VFX, that's created by people, and it matters that people do it. And those artists are incredible and underpaid. And it matters that it's people, and it needs to keep being people, because this is the stuff that makes us human, and this is the stuff that makes our community and our shared humanity matter and survive. I give long answers. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I know. I
I
enjoy
do
it.
a lot.
But you do have a point though about AI, because it doesn't matter how long AI is going to be developed. It doesn't matter how long AI is going to be around. It would never get to the creativity of what a person could do.
They
Never.
can't. It's impossible.
No.
It's
No.
smashing up and distilling what people have actually made. It cannot possibly be as creative as a person, and it's already proving itself to be derivative, and it makes me mad. I get very Luddite about AI. It makes me very, very grouchy. There are a handful of legitimate uses for that technology, and not one of them is writing a book or painting a picture. Not one of them is being an actor. Not one. Not one of them. If you are a dev creating a small indie game and you can't afford actors, guess what? There are millions of actors who will be overjoyed to work for you for free. I promise. There are so many actors who just want to work on something, who would love to do your indie project for free for the experience of doing it. That is better than AI. Get humans experience and practice together. It's better. Build relationships that while they get better as actors and you get better as a dev, then you suddenly are the people who discovered each other when you make that amazing new game that takes off. AI sucks.
And not only that, but there's I don't know if you ever heard of an app called Fiverr. I
Yeah.
think it's how you say, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's even voice actors on there that people can also look for too.
Yeah. There are tons of
Unfortunately, a lot of
places.
AI stuff too.
There are tons of places where people will market themselves where they just want to try it with you too. They just want to start with you too. I can't tell you how many short films and projects I have done for free for friends and people I don't know. I got frostbite doing special effects makeup on a short film for somebody I didn't even know, because I wanted to be able to do these really cool blood effects because nobody else was asking me to do them. So I was like, yes, I will come do your short film in a blizzard in the middle of the night in the high Uinta Mountains, because I want to do all these cool special effects I know how to do with practical makeup effects. One of them was a gunshot. It spurted. It was very cool. It was very tricky to build, and I was very proud of it. People want a place to build their art and their skills. It is more worth your time to find the people who want to do it with you than to ask a computer to skip that step. It's just always going to be more worth it. Always.
Okay. So we have a few minutes left. So I'm gonna go ahead and what I usually like to do at the end is some of the people who commented, they have some questions.
Great. I'll try
Okay.
to answer shorter.
No, you're perfectly fine. So we have a comment that says if you know anything about anime, something like Gundam, for example. If you like
I
anime.
know a bit and not as much as I wish I did. I have 3 small kids, so I've kind of been in a hole for a few years and I've not been able to watch much of anything. But I did grow up on Robotech. Like that was my first anime.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and like that's like one of my anchoring IP, right? So Ghost in the Shell, and of course the Miyazaki movies and stuff. But I'm actually, my husband and I are actually like on a mission right now. We're like researching new animes, and we're like, okay, if we check one out from the library every other week, that's probably something we have time for, because we both are actually really excited about exploring a genre we just haven't been exposed to all that much. And one of the reasons that we want to explore it more is we see how deeply passionate the fans of it are. And again, it's about that connection. I'm like, if people love it this much, I am excited to find out what is so wonderful about it. Like people's excitement is what gets me excited about it. The love of these different properties is so huge that I'm like, I can't wait to see what I see in it, because I know there's something there because of the way that people respond to it. And so I don't know as much as I wish I did, but I'm really looking forward to knowing more. Getting to be a part of like Genshin Impact has been really fun for me, because it's like dipping my toes into
Yeah.
some of that world. And of course we have friends who are in a lot of the big properties and stuff. And so some of it is just, I was like, well, if I watch Jujutsu Kaisen, I can watch Adam, and Adam's my buddy. And I've known Adam since before either of us were voice actors, and that's, again, like, stick around. That's where the fun is. But the short answer is I don't know as much as I wish I did, but I'm actively learning more right now.
Another question I have is it true that you was pregnant while you were doing Call of Duty?
Not while I was doing Call of Duty. I was
Okay.
pregnant while I was doing Constantine, which was particularly funny because of how very racy my character in Constantine was. I came in to do ADR for a very not safe for work scene with Constantine in a bathroom while I was like, just, I mean, we had to like move the microphone around my belly. Like it was very funny. But I was, to the best of my memory, I don't think I was pregnant while I was doing Call of Duty, but it's entirely possible that I was pregnant while I was doing like some of the DLCs afterward. Because I've done a lot of Call of Duty because I love it.
All right. Another question is there like a role in the future that you would like to play? Kind of like a hero, villain. I mean, obviously, a hero. I know you already played as Wonder Woman.
You know what's so funny about that is I'm a huge reader and I'm a huge consumer of art. And so every time that I have an answer, I realize 5 minutes later that I could have thought of a better answer. But right now, at this exact moment, I am reading the Wings of Fire series with my kids, which I highly recommend. It's a great YA or higher level series about dragons. And we recently found out that somebody we love deeply from my husband's career, Aaron Whitekey, is doing that show. And so like every day as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, I want to play one of these dragons because I love them so much. Like I'm obsessed with this like little world of dragons. And because I know that it's about to be created, like I keep trying to cast myself. I was like, oh, but I know who should play this one. And I know who should play this one. And oh, do you think that am I good enough to be? I don't know if I'm a good enough person to play Sunny because Sunny is such a good person dragon. Like, but am I mean enough to play Glory? Like maybe. I don't think I could possibly do Tsunami because she's so it's that kind of hilarious thing where I happen to know about something that's like on the cusp of being created that happens to coincide with books that I'm obsessed with reading right now with my kids. And so now I'm like, all I want is to be a dragon. Can somebody make me a dragon? I really want to be a dragon. I'm totally open to which dragon it is, but I really want to be a dragon.
Yeah, everybody hear that? She wants to be a dragon.
If anybody could get on that would be spectacular.
Well, hopefully somebody will like discover this video and goes, "Oh yeah, we could definitely hire you as a dragon."
Give her a call.
Oh, this is a good question. What type of dog?
Oh, hi. Do you want to see my dog? Come here, Augie. Come here, baby. Come here.
Oh,
he's such a good dog. He won't jump into my lap.
Oh, he is so beautiful.
So he is a blue. There you go. He's a blue Merle border collie, and we got him from the pound, from the animal shelter. Hi, baby. And we thought that he was like an Aussie Shepherd mix or something. But it turns out he was one of those dogs that somebody got during the pandemic that was too much for them because he's a purebred border collie, and you can't keep a border collie in an apartment. And so they wisely surrendered a dog that was too much. And so he's out here herding our chickens and chasing squirrels and running we've got 1 acre, which is like, feels like this spectacular expanse. So he's much happier here than in an apartment, but he's so pretty.
Oh, he's very pretty.
Yeah. There you are. There you are. Oh, baby. There's a good boy.
See, I will show you my dog, but he's probably like, I don't know. I have a small Shih Tzu, so me and my youngest are allergic to dogs. So, I mean, it doesn't stop me from getting him. I didn't know I was allergic until we have a red nose, and I refuse to get rid of him or get rid of her. So we got the Shih Tzu because it was, it's hyperallergenic with me and my youngest. Yeah, and he's probably laying on his back somewhere. He's a very lazy bugger.
I love it. My husband is allergic to cats, and we have 2 cats.
Oh yeah,
2 cats, a rabbit that I rescued from the feed store that somebody had dumped. The cats, one came from a shelter and one came from a friend who was like, my rescue cat was pregnant. And I was like, I'll take that one and help you. So we've got 2 cats, a rabbit, a border collie, 30 chickens, 5 fish.
I'm sorry, 30 chickens?
I think 30 chickens.
Wow.
Somewhere around there. And they're in 2 coops because I'm such a sucker that I couldn't give away all my roosters. I was like, well, I'll just build a new chicken coop. So we have 2 flocks.
See here in Texas, depending what county you're in, a buddy of mine's been trying to get chickens, but the county regulations, they won't let him get more than 5. And
We're lucky to be like in an unincorporated area where everybody's just kind of agreed. They're like, animals live here. Don't rat out your neighbors. So
yeah.
like one of my neighbors has donkeys. The people who lived here before had a horse. So everybody's just like, yeah, you know what? Roosters come with the territory. It's fine, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm
see,
sure there are rules, but everybody's agreed we're not talking about them.
yeah. See, I live in a pretty rural area, so I know if I could get like 30 chickens, I'd be fine. But
I love them.
all right, and oh, okay, we could actually this right here could be the last question. It's actually a really good question. Somebody said if you could say a line from Justice League Action.
Okay, I'm gonna say the line that got me the job.
Okay, y'all hear that? This right here,
This
we
is the
got her the
line that got
job.
me the job because I could not figure out a way to say this line. It was in the pilot script that ended up not being the pilot for the show. It came in later. But I couldn't figure out how to say this line without sounding ridiculous. And then I kind of finally landed on the Joker has been taken to Darkseid's spaceship planet.
Okay.
And he's been taken away. We've got 1 hour to bag this buffoon. And I had to drag Superman out with me. And Superman tells me that that I have to wait for him. I said, wait? Yeah, right. And it was those two things that apparently got me the job. We've got 1 hour to bag this buffoon. There was something about that. They were like, yeah, we're kind of into that. And then the idea of Wonder Woman just being like, wait? Yeah, right. Apparently, they were like, we like that vibe. That's the vibe we're going for.
I know somebody got chills hearing that.
Wonder Woman doesn't sit around and wait while Superman's off doing things. No. We have work to do.
Okay, I lied because I actually think that I would like to hear this too because we have another question that came in.
I love it.
What dragon shows do you like out of all the current media? Somebody says mine is currently Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, wait. Was the question what dragon shows?
Let me read it again. It says,
Can you tell I'm still stuck on Wings of Fire? I'm like, wait, are there more dragon shows I need to be watching?
what dragon shows do you like out of all the current media? Mine is actually Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Have I missed the dragons in Avatar: Last Airbender? Probably. This okay, what dragon shows do I like? That's a good question. I unfortunately right now my consumption is so keyed into my 7, 5, and 3-year-olds I've watched 4 episodes of Ted Lasso. I'm catching up, you guys. Dragon.
Like media, I wonder if that means like I don't know. There's like dragons in Lord of the Rings, I guess, like, or The Hobbit. The Hobbit. I know that.
We do love Smog. We love him.
Smog.
That's tough. Oh, I wish I had preparation for this because now I was like, I'm 15 books into this other dragon series. Like I'm in it. My kids are reading Dragon Girls and we're reading like D&D lore. So I was like, but I don't know if we're looking for like middle grade books.
Oh, I don't know. Like well, I want to say Toothless because Toothless don't have lines. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. This is how naive I am though, because now that you say that, we just showed our kids How to Train Your Dragon like a month ago for the first time.
Okay.
And then like a month after, like a couple weeks after that, I discovered it was a book and I was like, where have I been all this time? I was like, I somehow completely missed that it was
I didn't
a
know it was a
totally
book either.
charming book. And so we just finished reading that a couple of weeks ago, having seen the movies. I was like, oh, I'm stumbling. It's so funny. I read The Hobbit with my oldest and she was very much enjoying Smog before we got lucky enough to go to New Zealand last year with my husband at a Comic-Con. And I was like, so we're going to Hobbiton. But we're being amazing. He's like, that sounds hard. I was like, I don't care. And it was amazing. And I just, sometimes you got to do it. But yeah, now I feel like there's something I'm missing in Avatar that I need to watch. That's a sidebar. The new Avatar movies, the motion capture crew for all of the Na'vi are friends of mine, and Nothing comes out of thin air. Those are not dragons, but they fly things that are kind of like dragons. I'm like, oh. The motion capture crew on that is, they are superlative actors who will never get the due that they are deserved, and it is worth it. I want to clarify, I know it's not from The Last Airbender. I know they're different avatars. I want to be sure that it's clear that I understand that. It just made me think of people I love making stuff that's really cool. Credit to the dancers and stunt performers who create all of those creatures that we'll never fully appreciate because they wear them with polka dots on their outfits.
Okay, so I know it might be a dumb question, but you know what? This is something like my wife like reads, but she reads like all the Fourth Wing books and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's any talking dragons in that. That might be something.
I think there's a lot of dragons in those. I have not had a chance to read them yet because, again, small children have kept me very busy. I went on like a really weird rabbit hole of all of the fiber arts that created society. Here's a question: why do we call it the Iron Age or the Bronze Age? Because those are the things you can find in pits. Guess what created those societies? The fibers that women were actually spinning and weaving and creating. None of those societies would have existed without the fibers. It's just that the metal was left in the dirt and the fibers went away. So
Fun
there you
fact.
go. So that was the rabbit hole that I went down recently. So I haven't read the Fourth Wing books, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of racy dragons in those.
Oh, all I know is like my wife, she it's weird like how they're all set up. So like my wife had read all the books and then she's like, okay, but the way these books work is like you got to read a few chapters out of this and then you got to switch and read a few chapters out of that. Like my
Really?
wife's like all into it. Yeah. Like I'll
Oh,
see my
all
wife
right.
read like pick up like 4 or 5 different books. Like they're all intertwined. I'm like,
Man.
yeah, no.
I love intersecting worlds. I'm all for it. But right now, reading a book on paper is so like I'm almost all audiobooks right now because I'm constantly chasing people. We've got 45 animals and 3 children, so I'm constantly chasing
Oh
something. So
gosh.
audiobooks are the only way I can get it done these days. So that's wild. That's kind of cool. If that's the case, that actually makes me more interested in those books than I was before. But I love how much people are loving them.
Oh yeah, my wife's a big fan of them. She absolutely loves them, and I'm just like, hey,
Um,
babe, you do you. You know, I got my Hobbit books over here, my
there you go.
Lord of the
There
Rings
you
books. I
go.
like them.
I'm excited. We've done The Hobbit with the kids, and so now I'm like, I think the oldest is ready for the actual Lord of the Rings. I was like, is it time to meet the Fellowship? You're 7. Like it's probably like it might be a little early, but maybe it's because I read them all out loud to her. She can read them, but I was like, no, this is my turn. This is my turn. I get to read it to you. And it is a good time for me until we get to the dwarves poems because those songs are all way too long. They're too long for me to sing out loud, so we skip them.
Yeah, because you said you like reading out loud, right?
I love
I think
it. I love it. It's
yeah.
no accident that I mean, it is an accident that I stumbled into this career, but it's one of those where when people ask me what should I do to get started, I was like, you gotta start reading out loud. That's the thing. You got to start reading out loud. Anything you get your hands on, read it out loud. If it's a book, great. If it's a magazine, great. If it's an advertisement, great. I it is weird, but I genuinely believe that being forced to read the Bible out loud at 6 o'clock in the morning every day of my childhood is part of why my career turned out the way it did, because I had to learn how to say complicated words when I was tired. And, and I started reading out loud from the time that I was really small. And so that certainly wasn't what my parents were intending. But reading out loud is absolutely critical. One of the cool things about voice acting that is the reason some people don't give us credit is that we're not memorizing, we're reading off the page most of the time. But what's great about that is it gives you all this space to free yourself up and be creative in different ways. But it also means that you have to be able to make the page live now. You don't have the space to memorize it and take it home and work on it and think of and all of this other work that we do a lot of times when we're working, off script on camera. You've got to do it live right now, immediately. And that can be a big hurdle to overcome for some people. So the first thing, it's free. Just read out loud. Read everything out loud you can get your hands on. When somebody isn't around, or especially when they're listening, just read out loud. That's the first thing that will set off your career as a voice actor, if that's what you want to do. Read all of it out loud, even the boring stuff. because commercials are also acting. So read ads out loud. Figure out what the important words are. Figure out the pace that makes it interesting. Figure out the sound that makes sense. It's different if it's soap, if it's dog food, and if it's a car, right? It's different if it's a superhero or a supervillain or an NPC, right? Like, how do you be the voice that's like, I've got to drop some information, but I can't steal the focus of the scene? Or the one who comes in and is like, I'm owning this, so I give you everything you need, right? They're different. So just read out loud all the time. If you have kids, you're lucky. Just do it.
Yeah, I definitely always read out loud to them.
Oh, somebody read like 3 Robert Jordan books to me when I was in Taiwan. My friend and I would trade back and forth. I learned how to crochet, and he would read Robert Jordan while I crocheted a blanket for him. I was like, I'll give you this when I'm done if you'll read Robert Jordan to me. I was like, The Wheel of Time. I got almost all of it read out loud to me off of paper.
You hear that, people? Everybody, read out loud, even if it's a back of a chip bag label.
Yes. You're eating your cereal. Just read the Rice Krispies box out loud.
45 calories.
That's right.
All righty, this was very awesome, Rachel. It really was.
Thank you. This was really fun.
It was really fun. I had a blast. It was all awesome, very informative too.
Okay.
All righty, guys. This was Rachel Kimsey. Okay, I always got to make sure before because I'm not very good with names. So
that's fair. Rachel Kimsey.
Rachel Kimsey. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the GSE podcast. I wish everybody have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.